Reflect in English podcast.
Welcome back to Reflect in English podcast. I'm Olivia.
And I'm Patrick. It's great to have you with us again. Today, we're going to talk about something that might sound simple, but actually goes very deep. You're not lazy, you're just tired.
Yeah, this topic really hits home for so many people. Because, we live in a world that loves the word productive. Everyone wants to do more, learn more, earn more. But sometimes we forget that our bodies and minds are not machines.
Exactly. I think many people, especially students or people learning English, feel bad about themselves when they can't keep up. They think, I'm not working hard enough, or I'm just lazy. But the truth might be that they're simply exhausted, physically or emotionally.
Right. And when we call ourselves lazy, we're actually being unfair. Because laziness means you don't want to do anything, even when you can. But tiredness means you want to do something, you just can't because your energy is low. That's a big difference.
That's such an important distinction. Sometimes I think we confuse the two because modern life doesn't give us space to rest. If you're always busy and then you stop for a while, it feels like you're doing something wrong.
True. People say, don't waste time. But rest isn't a waste of time. It's how we recharge. Think about your phone. You wouldn't call your phone lazy for needing to charge.
Exactly. But we do that to ourselves all the time. We expect to go non-stop. Work, study, social media, family, responsibilities. No wonder we're tired.
So today, we want to explore how to recognize when we're just tired, not lazy, and how to manage our energy in a healthy way. Because this is not about doing less, it's about doing better.
Well said. So maybe let's start with the emotional side, the self-talk. Because when people feel tired, they often start saying negative things to themselves.
Yeah, like, I'm useless, or I should be stronger. That kind of thinking just adds more pressure. It's like carrying a backpack full of bricks and then blaming yourself for walking slowly.
That's a great image. I've noticed that when I'm tired, everything feels heavier. Decisions, emotions, even small problems. But if I rest well, I can see things more clearly.
Exactly. And that's why self-compassion is so important. I think we often treat friends better than we treat ourselves. If your friend said, I'm tired, you wouldn't say, you're lazy. You'd say, you've been doing a lot. Take a break.
Yes, but when it's ourselves, we forget to say that. So maybe one of the first steps is to learn to talk to ourselves like we would to a friend, with kindness, not judgment.
Totally. And it's also about accepting that being tired is not a failure. It's a message. Your body and mind are saying, hey, I need something. Rest, food, sleep, maybe even emotional space.
That's true. Actually, many times people push through fatigue with coffee, sugar, or just willpower. But that only hides the problem for a short time.
Yes, exactly. You can't fix low energy by forcing yourself harder. You need to recharge it. And that's what we're going to talk about later. How to build habits that protect your energy. But before that, I think it's good to understand where tiredness really comes from.
Good point. Let's list a few common reasons people feel constantly tired.
Sure. Number one, lack of sleep. That's the obvious one. Many people underestimate how much sleep they actually need.
Totally. People brag about sleeping only 5 hours like it's a sign of success, but your brain doesn't care about your ambition. It needs rest to function.
Exactly. And when you're sleep deprived, your brain can't focus, your memory gets worse, and your mood drops. So then you think you're lazy or unmotivated, but really your brain is just sleepy.
Right. Number 2, mental overload. Even if you're not physically active, your mind can still be working nonstop. Thinking, worrying, planning, it all burns energy.
That's true. And mental tiredness can be even harder to see because there's no obvious sign like sore muscles. But it's real. It's why sometimes, after a long day of thinking, you don't even want to talk to anyone.
Exactly. I call that brain fatigue. It's like your thoughts are traffic jammed. You can't move forward easily.
Yes, number 3, emotional stress. This one is big. When you're anxious or sad, your body uses a lot of energy just managing emotions.
Definitely. And stress hormones like cortisol keep your body alert all the time. It's like the system never shuts off. Eventually, you feel empty, not because you're lazy, but because you've been in survival mode.
Well said. And finally, number 4, lack of physical movement. This one sounds ironic, right? You're tired, but actually you need some gentle movement to have more energy.
Yeah, it's like the paradox of rest and activity. Too much rest can make you sluggish. Too much activity can burn you out. The balance is key.
So true. So if someone listening now feels constantly tired, the first step is not to attack yourself, but to observe yourself. Ask, where is my energy going?
That's a great question, because sometimes we think we have no energy, but actually our energy is just scattered. Social media, overthinking, multitasking.
Exactly. I once read a quote, "You don't need more time, you need more focus." And that's so true. If you direct your energy wisely, you can achieve more without feeling drained.
Right. And managing energy is more sustainable than managing time, because even if everyone has the same 24 hours, not everyone has the same level of energy during those hours.
Yes, that's a good point. We should stop measuring productivity by hours and start measuring it by energy quality.
Okay, so let's move to the next part. How to maintain healthy energy levels both physically and mentally. Because once we understand tiredness, the next step is to rebuild balance.
Perfect. Let's start with the physical side. For me, the first big one is sleep, like we said earlier, but not just quantity, quality too.
Yeah, I used to think I was sleeping enough, but I was going to bed at midnight, scrolling my phone for an hour, and waking up tired. That's not real rest.
Oh, yeah. Blue light from screens actually tricks your brain into thinking it's still daytime. So, one small change, putting the phone away 30 minutes before bed, can make a huge difference.
And also, having a consistent sleep schedule. Your body loves rhythm. If you sleep at 10 one day and 2 a.m. the next, it confuses your system.
Definitely. Sleep rhythm, morning light, and some gentle movement in the morning, that's like the magic combo for energy.
Speaking of movement, people often think exercise has to be hard. Gym, running, sweating, but even walking, stretching, or dancing helps a lot.
Absolutely. Exercise doesn't only build muscles, it builds energy circulation. When you move, your body wakes up, your mood improves, and your brain gets more oxygen.
That's right. And if you think, I'm too tired to exercise, remember that moving even a little will actually give you energy, not take it away.
Exactly. The trick is to start small. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever feels manageable. You don't have to do everything perfectly.
Yeah, perfection is another energy killer. Trying to do everything the right way often leads to burnout.
Yes. Sometimes being too serious about self-improvement can make you more tired than before.
Huh, true. So we should be kind but consistent, gentle with ourselves, but also disciplined enough to take small, healthy actions.
Exactly. Like drinking enough water, having balanced meals, sleeping regularly, and taking real breaks. Those things sound basic, but they build the foundation of energy.
And once that foundation is strong, mental energy becomes easier to manage too.
I agree. So maybe we can talk next about how to care for mental and emotional energy. Things like boundaries, focus, and self-talk.
Perfect. Because even if your body is rested, your mind can still feel drained if you're always worrying or comparing yourself.
So, Patrick, now let's move to the mental and emotional side. Honestly, that's where most people lose their energy without even realizing it.
Yeah, totally. You can sleep 8 hours, eat healthy, and still feel exhausted if your mind never stops running.
Exactly. I think our generation especially struggles with mental noise. Constant notifications, comparison, pressure to achieve, and the fear of missing out.
True, we're always connected, but not always at peace. I remember one day I was scrolling social media for hours, and when I stopped, I felt completely drained. Not because I did anything, but because my brain was jumping from one thing to another nonstop.
Oh, I've been there too. And that's what we call attention fatigue. Our attention is like a battery. Every time we switch focus from one app to another, from one task to another, we use a bit of that battery.
Exactly. And we don't realize how much energy it takes to constantly decide what to look at, what to reply to, what to ignore. It's decision fatigue.
Yes. And one way to manage this is to simplify. Fewer decisions, fewer tabs open, both in your computer and in your mind.
I like that. Close your mental tabs. That's great advice.
It really helps. I try to make small routines so I don't have to think about every little thing, like what I eat for breakfast or when I check messages. That way, I save my brain power for more meaningful things.
That's smart. I think another big drain of mental energy is comparison. When we constantly compare our lives to others, it's like running a marathon that never ends.
Yes, and it's exhausting because you can't win that race. There will always be someone doing more, looking better, or achieving faster.
Right. And most of what we see online isn't even the full truth. It's the highlight reel, but our brains treat it like reality.
Exactly. That's why it's so important to focus on your own progress, not someone else's timeline. Like if you're learning English, don't compare your accent or grammar with others. Just focus on communicating better than you did before.
That's such a good reminder for language learners. Progress is personal. It's about growing at your own pace.
Yes. And actually, that mindset also protects your mental energy. Because when you stop judging yourself, you stop wasting energy on guilt and shame.
That's powerful. Guilt is one of the biggest hidden energy drains. People think it motivates them, but usually it just makes them feel stuck.
Exactly. Healthy motivation comes from self-respect, not self-punishment.
I love that. And I think another way to protect mental energy is setting boundaries, knowing when to say no.
Yes, so many people feel tired because they say yes to everything. Every request, every message, every plan. But when you say yes to everything, you say no to your peace.
That's so true. I used to feel guilty saying no, especially to friends or coworkers. But then I realized saying no doesn't mean you don't care. It means you're protecting your capacity to care well.
Exactly. Boundaries aren't walls. They're doors that you control. You decide what comes in and what goes out.
I like that metaphor. It reminds me that balance isn't about doing everything. It's about doing what truly matters.
Yes. And sometimes that means doing less, but doing it better. Like focusing on one goal instead of 5.
Right. And when you simplify your focus, your energy naturally becomes stronger.
Totally. Because focus is like light. When it's scattered, it's weak. When it's concentrated, it's powerful.
That's beautiful.
I think people need to hear that simplifying life is not a sign of weakness, but wisdom.
Yes. And it's not only about saying no to others, but also to yourself sometimes. Like saying no to overthinking, to worrying about things you can't control.
Exactly. Worrying gives you the illusion of control, but it doesn't actually solve anything. It just burns mental fuel.
So true. I sometimes imagine my energy like money. I ask myself, do I really want to spend it on this? Because every thought and emotion costs something.
That's a great way to look at it. Spend your energy where it brings value. Relationships, learning, creativity, health, not on endless stress.
Yes, and that connects to emotional energy too, because emotions are powerful. When we're constantly angry or anxious, that energy burns inside us.
Right, but if we learn to process emotions, to feel them, understand them, and then let them go, we can free up so much space.
Exactly. I think emotional hygiene is as important as physical hygiene. You don't ignore your physical health, so why ignore your emotional one?
That's a great phrase, emotional hygiene. So, what do you personally do to take care of your emotional energy?
Good question. For me, journaling helps a lot. Writing down what I feel makes it less heavy. Also, spending time alone without distractions helps me hear my own thoughts clearly.
That's great. For me, it's talking to someone I trust. Just saying things out loud helps me release tension. And of course, spending time in nature. It's like nature recharges me.
Same. It's amazing how just walking outside, seeing trees or sunlight can shift your mood. It's like your brain remembers the world is bigger than your problems.
Sometimes we get trapped in our heads, and nature reminds us to breathe.
Exactly. And that brings us to another important part, breathing itself. It sounds simple, but breathing deeply can instantly change your energy.
Yes, it's like a reset button. When you take slow, deep breaths, your body gets the message, I'm safe. It calms the nervous system.
Right. That's why things like yoga or meditation help, not because they're magical, but because they bring your attention back to the body and the present moment.
I agree. And that's a skill we can all practice, even for 1 minute a day.
Totally. You don't need to be a monk to meditate. You just need to pause and notice.
Yeah. And when you start doing that regularly, you begin to notice your energy patterns, when you feel most alive, when you feel most drained.
Exactly. And once you know those patterns, you can design your day around them. Like if you're more focused in the morning, use that time for important work.
And if you get tired in the afternoon, plan lighter tasks or take a walk, working with your energy, not against it.
Yes, that's how you stay sustainable because life is not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Totally. And energy management is the art of running that marathon without collapsing halfway.
I love that. And I think what's beautiful about this topic is that it's not about becoming perfect, but about becoming aware.
Yes. Awareness is the first step to change. Once you know what drains or feeds your energy, you can make better choices.
Exactly. And I want to add one more thing, joy. We often talk about health, rest, and habits, but joy is also energy.
Oh, yes. Doing something just because it makes you happy, that's a natural fuel.
Totally. Whether it's listening to music, painting, laughing with friends, or cooking something delicious, these small joys refill your emotional tank.
That's so true. Sometimes people think they need a vacation to feel better, but sometimes they just need a few moments of genuine joy every day.
Yes, and joy is not selfish. It's necessary. A happy person gives more to others.
I couldn't agree more. When you protect your joy, you protect your energy.
So, to summarize this part, managing mental and emotional energy means simplifying your life, setting boundaries, being kind to yourself, expressing your feelings, and creating space for joy.
That's a perfect summary. And if you practice these things, you'll notice you're not as lazy as you thought. You're just learning to live in balance.
Exactly, because when you take care of your energy, motivation naturally returns.
Well said. I think in the final part of today's episode, we should talk about how to build healthy motivation, not from pressure or guilt, but from genuine energy and meaning.
Yes, let's do that. Because once people stop calling themselves lazy, the next question is, okay, then how do I move forward in a healthy way?
Perfect. Let's dive into that next.
Now, let's talk about the next step, how to build healthy motivation.
Yes, because once people stop calling themselves lazy, they often ask, okay, but what do I do now? They want to move forward again, but in a healthier way this time.
Exactly. I think real motivation doesn't come from pressure. It comes from connection. Connection with purpose, values, and curiosity.
Totally. When you feel connected to what you're doing, it gives you natural energy. You don't have to push yourself, you're pulled by meaning.
Right. Like when you're learning something you care about, say English, it feels lighter. But if you're only doing it because you have to, it quickly becomes exhausting.
Exactly. So, one of the keys to sustainable motivation is asking why. Why do I want to do this? If your why is strong and personal, you'll keep going even when it's hard.
Yes, and the why doesn't have to be huge, like change the world. It can be simple. I want to understand movies in English, or I want to travel confidently.
That's a great point. Small, meaningful reasons are more powerful than big, vague ones because they're closer to your daily life.
And they feel real. I think when motivation is real, it feels peaceful, not forced.
Yes, it feels like curiosity, not pressure.
Exactly. So, how can people rebuild that kind of healthy motivation after feeling tired or burned out?
I'd say the first step is rest. Again, because you can't rebuild motivation on an empty tank. Rest is not the opposite of progress, it's part of progress.
That's true. You need to recover before you restart.
Right. Then, once you have some energy back, start small. Take one step that feels doable. People lose motivation when they try to do everything at once.
Yeah, like setting a goal to change my whole lifestyle or study 3 hours every day. That's too heavy. But if you say, I'll study for 15 minutes, it feels achievable. And that success builds momentum.
Exactly. Momentum is built from small wins. Every time you keep a small promise to yourself, you grow your confidence.
That's a great point. Keeping promises to yourself. It builds self-trust. And self-trust is the foundation of motivation.
Yes, because if you don't trust yourself, you'll always doubt your next step. But if you know, I can start small and stay consistent, you'll feel more stable.
And I think celebrating small progress is also important. We often skip that.
Totally. People wait for big achievements to feel proud, but real life is built on small wins. Waking up early, going for a walk, learning a new word.
Right. Celebrating doesn't mean throwing a party every time. It can just mean saying to yourself, hey, I did that. Good job.
Exactly. Encouragement isn't just for others. You deserve it too.
I like that. And another thing, healthy motivation also comes from balance. You need both discipline and kindness.
Yes. Too much discipline without kindness becomes punishment. Too much kindness without discipline becomes stagnation.
That's so true.
Balance means you push yourself gently, like a good coach, supportive but firm.
Exactly. You don't yell at yourself, but you also don't let yourself give up too easily.
And when you find that middle ground, motivation becomes natural. It's not a fight anymore. It's a rhythm.
I love that. Motivation as rhythm. Some days you move faster, some days slower, but you keep the beat.
Yes, consistency beats intensity. It's better to do a little bit every day than a lot once in a while.
Totally. I think that's where many people burn out. They go too hard at the beginning, then crash.
Yeah, it's like sprinting at the start of a marathon. Sustainable energy needs pacing.
Exactly. And it's okay to rest, slow down, or even change direction. Growth isn't a straight line.
That's so important. People think they're failing when progress isn't constant, but actually, rest and reflection are part of growth.
Totally. You don't have to always be up. Life moves in waves. Energy, focus, emotion, and that's normal.
I love that metaphor. Waves. When the wave is high, you ride it. When it's low, you rest. You don't fight the ocean. You learn to surf it.
Exactly. And that's the essence of being both healthy and productive, flowing with your own rhythm instead of forcing yourself against it.
That's such a refreshing message. So if someone listening feels stuck right now, tired, guilty, unmotivated, what's one thing you'd tell them?
I'd say don't call yourself lazy. You're just human. Start by resting, forgiving yourself, and listening to what your body and heart need. Then take one gentle step forward. That's enough.
Beautiful. I'd probably add, remember, energy comes back. It's not gone forever. You just need to treat yourself like someone you love.
Yes, that's perfect. When you treat yourself kindly, everything changes.
You know, this reminds me of something I read. You don't need to light yourself on fire to keep others warm.
Oh, that's such a powerful quote. It's true. You can't pour from an empty cup. Taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's preparation for everything else you want to give.
Exactly. When you're healthy, balanced, and rested, your energy naturally spreads. In your work, your relationships, your learning.
Totally. And the more we understand our energy, the more we can use it wisely, instead of wasting it on guilt or worry.
That's the whole idea of this episode, right? You're not lazy, you're just tired. It's not about doing nothing, it's about doing things from a place of wholeness.
Yes, because when you're rested, you remember your why. You reconnect with your natural curiosity, and that's when real motivation comes back.
Exactly. And that's when learning, growing, and living feel exciting again, not like another task on your list.
Totally. And I want to say this especially to English learners listening now. It's okay to rest. It's okay to take breaks. You're not lazy if you slow down. You're still moving forward, just in a kinder way.
Yes, learning a language, or anything, takes energy. So be gentle with yourself. Celebrate the fact that you're here, listening, improving bit by bit. That's already amazing.
Absolutely. And every word you learn, every thought you understand in English, that's proof of your effort.
Yes. So before we wrap up, let's give our listeners a little challenge. Something small but meaningful they can do this week.
Great idea. Okay, here's mine. Take one full evening this week to rest without guilt. No screens, no multitasking, no shoulds. Just rest.
I like that. Mine would be write down 3 things that give you energy, like activities, people, or places. Then do one of them intentionally this week.
Perfect. Small actions like these can change everything when done with awareness.
Totally, because energy management isn't about control, it's about care.
Yes. And once you learn to care for your energy, you realize you were never lazy. You were just tired and needed a different kind of strength.
Exactly. A softer strength. One that grows from balance, not from burnout.
I love that.
Me too.
Well, I think that's a beautiful place to end today's episode.
Yeah. To everyone listening, thank you for being here. We hope this episode helped you reflect a little, maybe breathe a little, and remember that taking care of yourself is part of your success.
And remember, you're not behind. You're just recharging.
Exactly. So, until next time,
Keep learning, keep growing, and keep reflecting.
in English.
See you next time.
Bye, everyone.